Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, ladies, gentlemen, and otherwise. My name is Marcus Future, you can call me the Timeline Man, and welcome to another devlog for New Dawn for the Elements. And the last one for 2025, the winter one will go up in February. So, the goal here is to do a general recap of the state of everything regarding the game, and updating timelines for completion accordingly. So, let's start with the elephant in the room. I didn't get the demo out. Yeah, this is a bit of a sore spot for me personally. I was really hoping to get this stuff out by the end of 2025. I don't think I will, and for what it's worth, I think I'm kind of close, at least with visual assets. Let me explain how everything's going. So, let's start with the visuals. I've gotten all the meaty tiles done for the most of the game, I think. The walls, floors, stuff I need to carve the shape of maps, that's all done. It's finished. I am still working on the somewhat staggering number of prop tiles, things like foliage, beds, interior decor, etc., etc. I've barely started on all that stuff. In part, it's procrastination, but in another part, it's because it's a subtle but distinctly different way of working compared to auto tiles, which I've also only started getting my workflow down on. Part of that's just because if you look at the way top-down games look, the perspective that they show is not real. That's not how things look. So it's a very, I have to think about things in a different way to make these prop tiles. In a higher resolution state of being, the battle backgrounds for the demo are almost entirely done. There's one thing I'm looking at that I'm not sure how I want to tackle. See, in Chapter 2, early on, there's a plot-based fight that happens inside of a building. No other fights will happen in that sort of setting, at least not in the demo. So the dilemma is, do I make a background for this one fight, or should I make like a non-representational, miscellaneous background for situations like this? If you have any ideas, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. That leaves the enemies. I was on a bit of a roll making these relatively consistently. I got a few of them done. Then I moved to start the battle backgrounds, and I haven't gone back to them. I still have a few enemies left, so I think I'm about 60% done. Fingers crossed, I think. Plus, every enemy I finish here will eventually be 3 or 4 different enemies. There will be recolors later on in New Dawn for the Elements. I'm sorry, I'm not making that many unique enemies. I'm sorry. So that's, it's pretty decent progress, all things considered. The only other real visuals is the CGs, but those have actually been done since the last devlog, so that doesn't matter at all. The real shortfall is music, because I'm not particularly good at making music. There's a bit of the music I've made probably in the background of this video. It takes me a long time to make music, and it is usually these very slow, droney, soundscapey stuff because I'm not very good at keyboard. But also, I've started trying to move to an entirely different DAW, moving away from GarageBand on the iPad that I had been using, moving to Reaper on my PC to try to improve on some things. So I have to learn how to use the DAW. I also have to do a lot more sound shopping because GarageBand came with a lot of pack-ins and Reaper comes with nothing. So I have to, I have to assemble libraries of sounds, which is time-consuming and potentially expensive. Ultimately, my original tracks will probably make up a relatively minor section of the total music used in the game, but I do want to make some tracks for the game that will feel special, so that it gives the game its own identity instead of just using a bunch of asset packs. But there will be asset pack stuff in there. There's already some in the early demo that you can still go and download. And I'm also reusing a couple tracks from Sunset of the Elements, one of which is already in the early demo. You've heard it, so that's fun. Okay. Now, voice acting. I haven't brought this topic up in a minute, but there has been a fair bit of progress on the voice acting side of things. I still need about 10 voices. And one of the things that appears to be a problem is the POC characters. I obviously want these to be voiced by people of color, so I can't voice them. Also, there's a woman in there, I can't voice her either. Uh, so since I made the casting call over a year ago, I've not had anyone reach out to even offer these roles, so no one's even wanted to be these characters. So recently I took to Fiverr to do some talent scouting, I guess you could call it. And what I found is that most of the people offering their services for English voice acting work on Fiverr tend to be, first of all, white. That is the majority of them. And most of the people like of color I found, they just kind of offer narration work. I'm not gonna go in like, hey, you want to do a fucking character voice? When that's not what they're offering. I feel like Fiverr's just not the place for that sort of thing. It's like you look at what they're offering and you get what they're offering. That's just kind of how I look at it. I don't know. Again, if you're someone who's used a lot Fiverr a fair bit and you're watching this, let me know in the comments what you think. It's just how I view the platform. And of course, that means that this is probably going to take a fair bit of searching to get these voices done, which is probably also going to lead to a bit more expense. Which I should state, as of now, all the expenses for development are coming out of my pocket. Because while I believe in my project, I don't really think I should go around asking other people to invest in it. As it stands, I'm already looking down the barrel of never even breaking even with this game, but I want to put the voice acting in the game because there are people who do believe in the project, and they've volunteered their talents already. Basically, if there are some characters in the finished game who have very few voice lines, it's probably because I had to pay more to get them into the game at all, and so I cut down on the script size to compensate for that. So there's that fact. I don't think the voice acting will be in the full demo either. It'll probably be something that waits for the full game to release. Because again, a few of the main characters just don't have any voices yet, and it's going to take me some time to even get those. So I don't know. Okay. So, there are a few things I need to talk about as I think and continue to make it this game. Chief amongst them is what the game is about. On paper, New Dawn for the Elements is a game about a new generation taking the reins of the future, defying the traditions that would have them operate in a specific way. As such, the antagonists are all meant to follow a theme of systems of oppression. Now, as a white man, born and raised in the United States of America, who isn't visibly queer, my first-hand experience with most of these things I'm attempting to depict is minimal. I'll be honest, to say the least. It's, my experience has been a fairly privileged one, and I'm aware of this. So I have to be pretty careful in some of my depictions to prevent too large a gap between my intention and audience perception. As is shown in the early demo, slavery is a pretty sizable part of the plot. It is an entire section of the game. There is a fair bit of the world that is affected by a system of slavery, and so that leads to a whole dynamic there. How it affects, the world and the people, even though, for the most part, the characters who were affected by slavery are not enslaved, while a number of the characters affected by slavery escape slavery fairly early on. They're still affected by it because that's where they live their whole lives. So, like, there's a whole lot of connotation in there, and there's, of course, while they're out, there's still a bunch of people who are still in slavery, so that creates a whole, a whole set of tension. And so that means, it means a large number of things, but the biggest thing to be careful of is to consider how I write the characters that are portrayed. Like, to me, in my head, The reason Ivor is a rude and prickly person is because he's a younger brother in a similar manner to my own younger brother in real life. However, he is a black man being written by a white man, so there's a separate connotation to those qualities. So, my current method is to just write everyone as people and adjust a little bit if needed later. That goes for the people of color and the women, two groups of people who have been subject to ridiculous stereotyping in all forms of media for at least 100 years, if not probably definitely longer. Uh, that's just kind of that's the history of it. This method comes largely from an anecdote that I've heard a number of times about the movie Alien, where, from what I've been told, the female characters were seen as being very well written, and this was attributed to the idea that the script started as unisex. It's that sort of thing, where, like, these are all characters being characters. They are somewhat like, I'm not writing them like, oh yeah, this is the black guy. Like, that's not how I want to write it. It's like, no, he's an older brother, a younger brother who's been in this situation and he's in that situation. How does he deal with that situation? I want to write it like that. That's how I want to write these things. The flip side to this whole slavery bit is how do all the white characters act about it, because on one hand, this story is about fundamentally good people. All of the main characters are good people. I want that to be clear. And it's pretty difficult for me to conceive of good people really supporting slavery. However, you may, if you are one of the 9 people who I have seen as being one of the downloads of the early demo, have seen that there's a bit where it appears that one of the party members in fact owns a slave. I promise I'm going to elaborate on that later. I promise. let me get to it. It's not all explained in the demo, but like it's just the start of it. My hope though is to create a party of characters who are all good, so like, but they're going to have different priorities, right? So this is going to make some of them seem kind of a little bit like assholes, because they're going to have different priorities, because there is, I think it's a fairly compelling reason to, for some of them to kind of push this matter that doesn't directly affect them off to the side for a little bit, because it's like, well, world might end, yeah, and the other guy's gonna be like, okay, but if the world keeps going and there's still slavery, I kind of don't fuck with that, and that's gonna cause tension, you know. That's gonna cause tension within the party, and that's supposed to be a feature of the story, is that these people believe in fundamentally the same things, in making a better world for people, but they're going to have different priorities and lists of what happens when, like, Liam is from the first game. If you played the first game, you'll know that he kind of did that in the first game to Samir. It's just kind of like push that whole liberation thing off. And yeah, that is a sticking point to some of the characters in this game, and how, because they still know about Liam from the fact that he did that. And spoiler alert, there's still slavery, so they kind of don't trust him. There's stuff like that. And basically that was a lot of words I said, explaining where the writing of the game kind of sits. It's just, if I don't address, like, slavery and this sort of stuff, if I fuck it up, or if I just kind of try to push it off to the side, that's what I'm going to be remembered for, right? That's what this story is going to be remembered for. It's going to be kind of Detroit Becomes Human, where a lot of people just kind of see it as like, this is kind of like just a weird breezy through version of the civil rights movement, I guess, that was weird. And that's what a lot of people remember David Cage for now. So, you know, it's not what I want to be. And so I've gone back, and it's kind of slowed down some progress on the game as I go back over my notes, and I try to look at things, I try to examine my own internal biases, and try to just create the best version of this scenario as I can to try to avoid muddying the waters too much. So yeah, ultimately, I know where the plot starts and ends, but the major points that need to happen for that ending to happen, I know that, but then like everything kind of like in there is still in flux as I tweak my understanding of the characters and the situations that they're in. Like there's still, there's still a fair bit of breathing room for improvisation and discovery writing, I think they call it. Lastly, what are my plans and goals for winter? Well, I'm going to push the full demo off for spring 2026 for now. So that would be, May 2026, I think. Which means I think winter will be kind of uneventful, especially after all I said in this video, which I kind of feel is writing the border between my open communication policy and just actual spoilers for the story. It's a hard line to work with. I've been kind of trying to work with it a little bit more as I do more here. So hopefully I can gain confidence in what I'm writing as time goes on, but I can't discount the possibility of rewriting sections as things progress. Hell, I've rewritten the script for this video here and there. But that's all I can say for now. Hopefully I'll see you guys next year for the next one of these, and hopefully before next year for another non-dev video. And I hope this was enlightening for you guys, just to hear a little bit of what it is I'm saying with how I'm working through things. And it meant a lot for me to put this down as like concrete words. It kind of like really helped me personally kind of just understand what it is I'm saying and what it is I'm trying to do in a lot more of a concrete way. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I already feel better about things going forward just because I wrote the script for this video. But yeah, that's why I like making these. So until next we meet, stay safe out there and look out for each other.